Hello Year 9, welcome to lesson 3, slight change of scenery today. We're going to look at Abigail Williams today. She is one of the key, she is the key character in the Crucible, the protagonist, main character. Okay, so just a few reminders to make sure you get the most out of the lesson. Work in a quiet place, hopefully you found that quiet place by now. Make sure you've got all your equipment ready. Make sure you've checked Teams, I'm sure the instructions are still the same, and work hard and complete your best work, okay? It's not easy work, the Crucible, it's a tricky text, so make sure you concentrate, make sure you're thinking really hard, okay? You ready? Off we go. Okay, so title, Crucible by Arthur Miller, and first of all I want to do a little subtitle of what do we know so far. So thinking about what we've learned about some context information so far. So I want you to just pause the video and I want you to think, what do we know about the context so far? What can you remember about what we've learned? Okay. Right, so what should you have got so far? Set in Salem, Massachusetts, if you can say it, America. 1692, did you get the date? Long time ago. It's about witch hunts. Did you remember hysteria? Those pictures we looked at. Persecution was a word that came up in those witch texts that we looked at. Reverend Paris. Tituba and Betty, the characters. Okay. So what else can we look at? Writer's techniques we've looked at. What writer's techniques have we looked at so far in the text? We've done some analysis, we've looked at some language. What have we looked at? Can you pause the video and think about what types of language techniques have we looked at so far? Okay, what have you got? We've got stage directions. Did you get those? We've got adjectives. We've got verbs, two of my favourite word types. Adverbs, words that describe a verb. Okay, sorry I clicked on a little bit too quick there. I'm not doing lots of takes. So your next task is getting to know the characters. This is what we need to work out before we delve a little bit more carefully into the play, because there's lots of different characters. So I'm going to bring up a couple of character maps on the screen. You don't need to write these down, but you might want to pause the video and have a careful look at it. There's two different ones. There's a simple one and a more complicated one. So this is a more simple one of who is who. And you have got you've got the Proctor household here. John Proctor and Elizabeth Proctor are the two key characters in the play. We've not met those yet. And we've got Abigail Williams we're going to look at today. Okay, we've got some other characters there. This is one of a little bit more of a complex character. There's a character just underneath my head, but don't worry about that. You can see how they're all connected. So that's got sort of relationship arrows in there. It shows you who's married to who, shows who accuses who of someone else, who threatens who is a former lover of someone. So you can see there's an arrow between Abigail Williams and John Proctor that says former lovers. Okay, so I wanted to show you the more complex one as well. So who have we looked at so far then? Well, we've looked at Reverend Paris and Tituba, and we've looked at how Reverend Paris is introduced with Tituba in those opening stage directions. Okay, and today we're going to look at Betty Paris and Abigail Williams. So you can see from the stage directions that the character map, not the stage directions, you can see that Betty is the daughter of Reverend Paris, and Abigail Williams is the niece of Reverend Paris. Abigail is an orphan, her parents have died, and she lives with her uncle. Okay, so she is Betty's cousin. Alright, so if you need to, you can always come back to this later on, but I will bring these character maps up later on in other videos for you to refer to. Okay, so you don't need to worry about remembering who is who, but if you want to, you could always write down the more simple version, this one, if you want to, in your exercise book. You can pause the video if you want to do that, and then you've got it to refer back to. Okay, that's who's who. Okay, so we're going to look at the first section. Now, unfortunately, we've not got lots of different people to read the parts, so I'm going to read the first little section of the play to you. And what we are going to look at, we are going to look at some stage directions for Abigail and how Arthur Miller tries to present her. Okay, so bear with me, I'm not going to do different voices, I'm just going to read the play out, and then we're going to summarise what's happened so you can understand what's going on in the play. Okay, so we start with a bit here at the top of the page that we read just at the bit last time with Tituba and Reverend Paris. Okay, so Tituba, already taken a step backwards. My Betty be hearty soon. Paris, out of here. Tituba, back into the door. My Betty not going to die. Paris, scrambling to his feet in a fury. Out of my sight. Out of my... He is overcome with sobs. He clamps his teeth against them and closes the door and leans against it, exhausted. Oh my God, God help me. Quaking with fear, mumbling to himself through his sobs, he goes to bed and gently takes Betty's hand. Betty, child, dear child, will you wake? You open your eyes. Betty, little one. He is bending to kneel again when his niece, Abigail Williams, 17, enters. A strikingly beautiful girl, an orphan with an endless capacity for dissembling. Now she is all worry and apprehension and propriety. Notice this here. She has an endless capacity for dissembling. Think about what dissembling means. You have to dissemble something. You have to take it apart. So she has an endless capacity to dissemble things. She's very good at taking things apart, destroying things. Uncle, he looks to her. Susanna Walcott's here from Dr. Griggs. Paris, oh, let her come in, let her come. Abigail, leaning out the door to call Susanna, who is down the hall a few steps. Come in, Susanna. Susanna Walcott, a little younger than Abigail, a nervous, hurried girl, enters. Paris, eagerly. What does the doctor say, child? Susanna, craning around Paris to get a look at Betty. He bid me come and tell you, Reverend Sir, that he cannot discover no medicine for it in his books. Paris, then he must search on. Susanna, aye, sir, he had been searching his book since he left you, sir, but he bid me tell you that you might look to unnatural things for the cause, sir, of it. Paris, his eyes going wide. No, no, there be no unnatural cause here. Tell him I have sent for Reverend Hale of Beverley, and Mr. Hale will surely confirm that. Let him look to medicine, and put out all thought of unnatural causes here. There be none. What do you think unnatural means? He's a reverend, he's a man of God. Think about what we've been talking about. The unnatural causes that she's suggesting they might look for are witchcraft. As to why Betty is lying inert in bed, and he's denying it, saying, nope, nope, I'm not going to look at that. Susanna, aye, sir, he bid me tell you. She turns to go. Abigail, speak nothing of it in the village, Susanna. Paris, go directly home and speak nothing of unnatural causes. Susanna, aye, sir, I pray for her. She goes out. Abigail, uncle, the rumour of witchcraft is all about. I think you'd best go down and deny it yourself. The parlour's packed with people, sir. I'll sit with her. Paris, pressed, turns on her. And what shall I say to them? That my daughter and my niece I discovered dancing like heathen in the forest? Abigail, uncle, we danced. Let you tell them I confessed it, and I'll be whipped if I must. But they're speaking of witchcraft. Betty's not witched. Abigail, I cannot go before the congregation when I know you have not opened with me. What did you do with her in the forest? Abigail, we did dance, uncle, and when you leaped out of the bush so suddenly, Betty was frightened, and then she fainted, and there's the whole of it. Paris, child, sit you down. Abigail, quavering as she sits, I would never hurt Betty. I love her dearly. Paris, now look you, child, your punishment will come in its time, but if you trafficked with spirits in the forest, I must know it now, for surely my enemies will, and they will ruin with me. Abigail, but we never conjured spirits. Paris, then why can she not move herself since midnight? This child is desperate. Abigail lowers her eyes. It must come out. My enemies will bring it out. Let me know what you've done there. Abigail, do you understand that I have many enemies? Abigail, I have heard of it, uncle. Paris, there is a faction that is sworn to drive me from my pulpit. Do you understand that? Abigail, I think so, sir. Paris, now then, in the midst of such disruption, my own household is discovered to be the very centre of some obscene practice. Abominations are done in the forest. Abigail, it was sport, uncle. Paris, pointing at Betty, you call this sport? She lowers her eyes. He pleads, Abigail, if you know something that may help the doctor, for God's sake tell it to me. She is silent. I saw Tituba waving her arms over the fire when I came on you. Why was she doing that? And I heard screeching and gibberish coming from her mouth. She was swaying like a dumb beast over that fire. Abigail, she always sings her Barbados songs and we dance. I cannot blink what I saw, Abigail, for my enemies will not blink it. I saw a dress lying on the grass. Abigail, innocently, a dress? Paris, it is very hard to say. Aye, a dress, and I thought I saw someone naked running through the trees. Abigail, in terror, no one was naked. You mistake yourself, uncle. Paris, with anger, I saw it. He moves from her, then resolved, now tell me true, Abigail, and I pray you feel the weight of truth upon you, for now my ministry is at stake, my ministry and perhaps your cousin's life. Whatever abomination you have done, give me all of it now, for I dare not be taken unaware when I go before them down there. Abigail, there is nothing more, I swear it, uncle. Paris studies her, then nods, half convinced. Abigail, I have fought here 3 long years to bend these stiff-necked people to me, and now, just now when some good respect is rising for me in the parish, you compromise my very character. I've given you a home, child. I've put clothes upon your back. Now give me upright answer. Your name in the town, is it entirely white? Is it not? Abigail, with an edge of resentment. Why, I am sure it is, sir. There be no blush about my name. Paris, to the point. Abigail, is there any other cause than you have told me for your being discharged from Goody Proctor's service? I have heard it said, and I tell you as I heard it, that she comes so rarely to the church this year, for she will not sit so close to something soiled. What signified that remark? Abigail, she hates me, uncle. She must, for I would not be her slave. It's a bitter woman, a lying, cold, snivelling woman, and I will not work for such a woman. Paris, she may be, and yet it has troubled me that you are now 7 months out of their house, and in all this time no other family has ever called for your service. They want slaves, not such as I. Let them send to Barbados for that. I will not black my face for any of them. with ill-concealed resentment at him. "Do you begrudge my bed, uncle?" "No, no." Abigail, in a temper. "My name is good in the village. I will not have it said my name is soiled. Goody Proctor is a gossiping liar." Okay, so before we go any further, what has just happened? Well, Reverend Parris's daughter is lying in bed, unresponsive, inert, no response from her at all whatsoever. He's thrown Tituba out in anger, doesn't want her to be there, cross at her. Abigail Williams, his niece, has entered the room and told him people think witchcraft is to blame for what is wrong with Betty. Don't forget he's a reverend, a man of the church. He's cross with Abigail because he caught her dancing in the woods with Betty and Tituba. He also thinks he saw a dress lying on the floor, chanting songs, something that looks like it could be witchcraft. He thinks they were talking to spirits, practicing witchcraft, but Abigail denies it and says she's entirely innocent. Okay? And then he asks why she was sacked from her job with the Proctors and has not got another one. So it seems a little bit strange. It's not, people get sacked now and again. Apparently, I've never been sacked, but there you go. But he says that's one thing, but then you've not got another job. Why is that? And then finally, Abigail claims that it's because Goody Proctor is a liar and a gossip. So other people aren't giving her a job because Goody Proctor must have said things to them that aren't true. Okay? So make sure you understand what's just happened in this scene, because we're going to look at how Abigail is shown through the stage directions, Year 9. Okay? What I'd like you to do now, Year 9, is to write the title and the question that is at the top of the screen. How does Arthur Miller use stage directions to present Abigail Williams? Make sure you spell it carefully, make sure you write it neatly, and make sure you underline the question as well. Pause the video if you need to do that. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to bring up some little snippets of some stage directions that are in reference to Abigail Williams from the extract that I have just read. Okay, what I'd like you to do is just look at those. Sorry for the dodgy photographs. And I'd like you to look for some key words in those stage directions that tell us something about Abigail. Okay? Pause the video if you need to do that. Okay, so what did you spot? Okay, I'm going to bring up some boxes around mine. Alright, so we have in the first one, we have quavering. Are we okay with what quavering means? It's to do with how your voice sounds, and it's to do with if you're in a very emotional state and your voice may move up and down. It may feel very rocky and wobbly when you're very upset and your voice goes that kind of sound. We have the word temper. We have her lowering her eyes. We have, I'm just going to highlight these as well so you can see which ones I'm referring to. So we've had quavering, we've had temper, we've had she lowers her eyes. We've also got lowers here as well, it's repeated. Okay. We've got an edge of resentment. So if you resent something, you don't want it there, you don't like it, you wish it wasn't there. But we have an edge of something. If someone's just got an edge of something, it's just on their edge. They don't have a lot of it, they just show a little bit of it. Okay, got an adjective, she's silent, describes her as silent. Got an adverb here of how she says something, innocently. And here we have resentment again, but it says that it's ill-concealed. Okay. And then I've got one in blue here. And you might think, why I've got it in blue? But I've got it in blue because this is describing Reverend Parris. It's not a stage direction for Abigail. And he is pleading. But I've put that in there because I want you to think about how these other ones, how these ones react to him pleading. So she lowers her eyes, he pleads, and then she is silent. Okay, so I just thought I'd point out here that he pleads in this large section here as well. Okay, so what I'd like you to do is, I'm going to go on to the next slide so we've got them in the right order, and then I'd like you to write them down. Okay, so we're just going to click on to the next slide. Okay, so what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to first of all write down the quotations in a list on one side of your page, because I'm going to write some ideas down next to them on the other side. Okay, so the first one I'd like you to write down is quavering. Then we have lowers her eyes. Then we have she lowers and she is silent. You don't need to write the blue one down. Okay, I'll just bring them all up and in that order. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring some questions up at the side to try and get you to think of some ideas of what Arthur Miller is getting us to think about Abigail by using these stage directions. So if you remember, we talked about stage directions and why a playwright would use them, because he's wanting to get across ideas to the audience. He's wanting to tell actors and actresses how to play the part. He's wanting to give directors an idea about how he envisages the actors, the characters on the stage and the setting. Okay, so when he writes quavering as she sits, I want you to think about, why is her voice shaking? Why might Abigail's voice be shaking as she sits down and says, I would never hurt better? Okay, I've already said about what the word quavering means, but why might she be so emotional? Okay, so pause the video if you need to. Why do you think her voice is shaking? Okay, so the next one then. Lowering her eyes. Almost picture yourself doing it. Imagine you're Abigail and you're lowering her eyes. Why might you do that? How is she trying to appear? She's wanting to present herself in a certain way to Reverend Paris, who thinks she's involved in Betty's situation, so she lowers her eyes. How is she trying to appear? Don't forget it's Reverend Paris as well. That might give you a little idea. Alright, so pause the video here if you need to write a few ideas down there. Right, and the next bit, she does it again. Why does she still keep lowering her eyes? Why does she have to do it again? At this point, he's pointing at her. You call this sport? She lowers her eyes again. And then when he pleads at her, pleading for information that could maybe help the doctor make Betty better, she is silent. So Arthur Miller is making sure that the person who plays this part, Abigail William, stays silent. She doesn't even open her mouth or say anything. She is silent. Doesn't say anything. Doesn't make a noise. Doesn't gasp. Doesn't open her mouth to try and speak. She stays silent. Why might that be? What sort of person does that suggest about them? Okay, pause the video if you need to, because I'm moving on to the fourth one. So we've got with an edge of resentment. Why isn't she just resentful? Why is there an edge about her? Somebody's edgy, or there's an edge of it. What do you think that is suggesting? It's a tricky one, that. Don't worry if you find that one a little bit hard. Okay. Finally. It's not finally, I put two more on the end. Why does Miller insist she says this innocently? A dress? I've said that in an innocent way. Imagine she's saying it like that. A dress? You know what I mean. Okay. And then, what does ill-concealed? If something is concealed, it's hidden. But now her resentment is ill-concealed. So what does that tell us about her resentment? What is she struggling to do? And then finally, in a temper. And you can go back to the beginning if you want and look at how she's changed. You could almost chart how Abigail has changed through this scene, what she started out at, and look how she's ended up at the end. So what does temper tell us about her? How is it different to angry? Think about the type of person who has a temper rather than someone who is angry. Why has he said she's in a temper rather than she's angry? What's Arthur Miller trying to tell us about that instead? Okay, so I want you to try and answer your ideas. There's no right or wrong, Year 9, so don't worry if you think I don't know. It's your ideas. Okay, what do you think is the answer? It's your interpretation. Okay, don't worry about trying to think what's Mrs. idea. Doesn't matter what my idea is. What do you think? Okay, so pause the video and see if you can jot some ideas down as to what you think is the answer for those questions. Okay, next, what I'd like you to do is to try and write what you think Arthur Miller is trying to present Abigail as into a short paragraph. I've put some sentence stems on the board, and also I've given you some key vocabulary I'd like you to try and use. So, I've given you the word manipulative. If somebody tries to manipulate someone, they try and get them to do what they want to do. We've got innocent, I think you're okay with that. Someone who's complex. So if you look at Abigail, she starts off quavering, but then she's got a temper at the end. She's got lots of different sides to her as Abigail Williams. Someone who's submissive, kind of gives in, lets people control them. Or they might want to appear submissive, but not actually be submissive. We've got some technical words like audience, character and play, because it's not a book we're reading, remember, it's a play, it's a script. We've got Arthur Miller, who wrote the play, and then we've got Abigail Williams and Reverend Paris, your two main characters there. Okay, and then you've got some key vocabulary as well, some sentence stems, and I've also included, make sure you check, we've got some connectives to try and develop your analysis, and I've also given you some tentative language. It could possibly this. Remember, it's not about knowing the right answer. It's about having a go. Maybe trying to interpret what Arthur Miller could possibly be suggesting. Okay? So I want you to pause the video and spend about 10 minutes trying to craft your own paragraph with your ideas that you came up with. And then we'll have a look at seeing if yours is a little bit like mine. Okay? Off you go. Okay, so what did you come up with then? Here's what I did. Don't worry if yours doesn't match mine. I've tried to use some of the vocabulary in there, and I've not covered all of the stage directions because I just wanted to fit it on one slide. Okay, so have a look at yours. Yours might be better than mine, it might be more detailed. Let's see what we got. I've got Miller is trying to present Abigail as a complex character at the start of the play. The stage direction quavering suggests she is unable to control her voice because she's worried about the situation she has been found in. It will make the audience think that she is guilty because she is overcome with lots of feelings. Furthermore, when Miller uses a stage direction, lowers her eyes, I think he's trying to get across the message that Abigail wants to control Reverend Paris. By doing this, she's trying to be submissive and appear innocent. However, Abigail responds with a temper. It could be that he is giving the audience the impression that she is losing control and is frustrated she isn't getting her own way. Perhaps Miller is trying to present Abigail as a very complex character by the variety of different stage directions he uses to prepare us for her character further on in the play. Okay, so just check, I've got my perhaps, I've got connectives with however and furthermore. I've made sure I've got my quotations in there as well. Okay, I've got stage directions, I've got character, I've got play. Have I got any of these? I've got complex character there. I've got innocent. Oh, what else have I got? Submissive. I didn't have that on my other one. There you go. Alright, so I've tried to use that vocabulary there as well. Alright, so pause the video and see if you can have a look at yours. You can always improve yours if you want, or you can always think, how can Miss improve hers? I'm always open to targets for improvement as well. Okay, well done for working hard. It's not the easiest of plays, but it's a great play. I absolutely love the Crucible. You're going to really, really enjoy it. Alright, so well done. I hope you're looking forward to next week. Your next lessons this week will be an Educate quiz, and there will also be a reading lesson as well. And next week, it may be my face on the video next week. You may have Mrs. Gardner's face on the video next week. We're going to do some teamwork on some of the lessons in the future. Okay, so look out, you may get a different face. We'll see how it goes. Alright, Year 9, I hope you've enjoyed the lesson. Good work, and stay safe and look after each other, and we hope to see you soon. Okay, over and out.